Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenitria Williams, licensed professional counselor, and you guys already know what I want you to do. I want you to hashtag live if you are watching us live and let us know where you're watching from, and then hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And again, let us know where you're watching from. You'll know you're watching live because the red button at the top will have the word live at the top. So, again, hashtag live and let us know. Also, tag, comment, and share. I'm actually going to take a moment to share. This broadcast as well. Come on in, everyone. We're going to take just a few minutes for people to get started and to get in here. I appreciate everybody joining. We have such an amazing topic today. We're going to delve into the world of foster care and how you can get involved and learn more about it. So, again, I'm really excited. I have a great guest. I'm excited about her. So give me one moment. Okay. All right, well, let's get going. So, again, my name is Tenitria Williams, and I have a special guest here, Miss Cassie Kissinger from The Call. Cassie, welcome to Minding My Mental Health. I appreciate you. It was a last minute request, and you all were just so helpful and eager to jump in. And so I want to publicly, I've already said it privately, but I want to publicly say thank you to The Call for answering. I want to publicly say thank you to you individually for being willing to come and share your story. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your story, your involvement with foster care, this wonderful organization that helps people so much to be able to get involved in that system. So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what got you involved in this line of work.
So my name is Cassie Kissinger. Like she said, I'm a family support coordinator for The Call. And I grew up in a family that fostered and adopted out of foster care. So I've always been passionate about it. It's something that touched my heart from an early age. I basically at 15 years old decided this is what I'm going to do with my life in some way. I've been blessed to adopt out of foster care, and now I get to take my passions into my career and work within the foster care system. So it's definitely something that encompasses my whole life, home, work, everything.
No, really, it sounds like your has been so deeply rooted into the foster care system. So tell me, your parents were foster parents. How many children did you guys, or you may not even know if you remember, how many children came through your home as you were growing up?
So it was actually my aunt and uncle.
Okay.
I was the only girl in the family. So being all about children, I was the one that was coming over on weekends and babysitting. And the first weekend that they were open, there were 4 children. I mean, the
Oh,
first
wow.
and I instantly fell in love with these kids. I honestly do not know how many came in and out. Some were there for a couple of days, some were there for a few years before reunifying with their biological families. Eventually, there were 3 that ended up staying with us
Mhm.
forever. Um, the first child actually that came into our family was 5 months old when she came into our family, and she is turning 18 next month. She just graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I tell her all the time, you are the one who changed my life and the trajectory of my life and what I wanted to do. There were hard times. There were definitely hard times. Saying goodbye to a child that you've just come to love and care for is hard, but
Mhm.
it's really rewarding to get to see where they go from there.
So tell me what you do with the call. What tell us about the call, the organization, and kind of what's your role with the call?
So the call has been active in Arkansas for 17 years. We have worked to recruit over 2,100 families to open their homes to foster care and served over 30,000 children. There have also been over 2,100 adoptions through homes that were open through the call. What we do is we just spread awareness and really work on that missional work of foster care, opening homes, and then supporting those families. So we understand that the walk through foster care as a foster family is not easy. and it takes a village, and we help make sure that you have that village. So my specific role, I help recruit the families, but also as they're opening their homes, I'm walking alongside them, helping them with the paperwork, the opening process. And then once they're open and they have children in their homes, I get to encourage them, bring them meals so that they're not struggling to take kids moved into the grocery store or have to worry about cooking. They can worry about bonding with the children. Just a couple of weeks ago, I got to go over to a family that had taken in a couple of children just out of the blue. They were not expecting it. They were related to these children. And I got to take over a basket of snacks, took a couple of Bibles over to the little boys. I got to love on the children and just sit there with the brand new foster mom who, just kind of felt like she was thrown into this all of a sudden and didn't know what she was going to love on her and encourage her. And so that's really what we do with the call, is help these families, love on them, encourage them, pray with them, whatever they need to make sure that they have the resources and the tools they need to care for the children.
So it sounds like the call is almost like a supplement to help families. You're not necessarily setting up the foster care placement type of stuff, but you're helping to kind of go alongside of those parents to kind of aid them and give them additional support.
Yes, ma'am.
That is so needed. What do you think are some of the misconceptions about foster care?
So I know that foster care in general can sometimes have a negative opinion that people have. And I think that really just comes from no one wants foster care to have to be a thing. Everyone that works in foster care will tell you we would love if it didn't have to be a thing anymore. But unfortunately, it does. And I think a lot of times, because you do hear a lot of horror stories and there's so much negativity, you just believe that it's a negative thing, when in fact it can be an absolutely beautiful thing, because these are just families that are loving on and caring for children while the biological families are able to get the resources and help they need to care for their children. I know that in our society, you also hear a lot of things about DCFS. I would just encourage people to remember that the workers at DCFS are human, just like us. They don't have a magic button. It is a very, very hard job. They see very hard things day in and day out. And at the end of the day, none of us want to have to make a decision that impacts a family or a child.
Right.
But we're put in positions sometimes where we have to. And we have to give grace to those people that are working in those situations and making those decisions.
I know I worked with several people from DCFS, and I know that they really are working hard. I've actually had a worker here on the show talking about that stress and all of that. And so I think it is really important that we keep that part in mind, the humanity and the workload and the stress of all of this, trying to make sure you're making the right decisions when removing a child or placing a child into foster care, and all of that stuff is huge. What are some of the big shocking moments that you see, or I don't know about moments, but the things that parents, when they decide, hey, I want to foster, what's usually that thing that's kind of shocks them the most or scares them the most?
I think what scares people the most about opening their home, the grief of knowing that a child might leave their home, because if our brains can't tell the difference between a death or someone moving across the country and just not seeing them anymore. So that's definitely the biggest fear that we hear. People that have their own children already wonder how it's going to impact their children. Is it going to be a thing? And then, of course, there are big behaviors that some of these children have, and people wonder if they're able to handle those behaviors.
Right.
So there are a lot of fears and a lot of questions that people have. So we like to make sure that we answer those questions and that they are extremely informed before they start walking through the process.
What kind of training, if you know, do foster parents have to go through in order to even be able to foster?
So before your home is open, you have to go through an entire training process and a home study. The training there are some parenting classes. There's a little bit of trauma-informed information in there, just kind of letting people know where these children are coming from, how the system works, because you be completely informed before a child comes into your home on what the process is going to look like for that child, but also just being prepared for, as much as we can be. You can't prepare for everything. No amount of training is going to set you up for everything scenario you might see. But it is a lot of training. It is a lot of paperwork and hours that go into the home study and making sure that you are fully prepared, that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that you're ready to fully wrap around a child that is coming from a hard place.
Yeah. So I know you're new to this role. What is has been your biggest challenge so far?
So our part of the state is really new. We're just opening our affiliate. And I think the biggest thing is just changing that negative connotation and making sure that
Mhm.
the awareness is out there. I don't think people realize just how many foster children there are in our state, in the country. I don't think people are truly aware of the issues that those children face and the different ways that you can get involved. You don't always have to open your home to be able
Mm.
to support these children and these families. So making sure that the awareness is out there is the biggest challenge.
Can you
Um,
shed some light on that? Kind of give us, and I know you may not know specific numbers, but can you give us an idea of kind of the magnitude of what we're facing, and also what are some of those ways that people can help that doesn't necessarily include opening their homes?
so in Arkansas alone, there are almost 4,200 children in foster care at the moment. Um, and there are less than 2,000 open homes.
Mm.
I think the last number I saw where there were less than 1,500 open homes. So that means that if a child is removed, they may have to move across the state and be hours away from what they're used to, which is another level of trauma that these children are
Mhm.
besides just being removed from their families. So opening homes is obviously the number one goal. But like with my role, just making sure that those families have that wraparound support. So you can
Mhm.
volunteer, you can donate supplies. Some of these children don't have the clothes or the diapers. Like I said before, just making a freezer meal and taking it to a family so that they're not running to the grocery store or having to cook. Because we all know as moms, the last thing we want to do any day of the week is cook dinner. But when you have kids that were just introduced into your home and you're
Yeah.
trying to settle the daily tasks that we really can't focus on because we're focusing on the children or things that people can help these families with.
Oh, that's really good for people to know. Go ahead and put in the comment section if you want to be involved. If you want to get involved in something like that, put a one in the comment section. Ways to help. Let's talk more about just I guess, and you told me a little bit about this, but I know, like you've mentioned, the foster care system often has a negative connotation. And when I say negative, meaning people hear about some trauma or behavioral issues that those children had to face or they were dealing with, and all of those types of things, or just the heartbreak of the children leaving. I can remember my great aunt was a foster mom, and just getting attached to those kids. And when they would leave, it was just like, oh my gosh, that's a really hard thing for her to experience. And they were so sweet, and she was such a great role model for them. But what are some success stories that you've seen personally or even through your work?
So personally, I will never forget the first time a child had to leave my family. He was a tiny little infant. I will never forget his name, his face, and it was hard. And when the child leaves, most of the time you don't know where they go or what happens. We were
Mhm.
blessed enough to know that he did have a biological family member that was taking him in. And then a few years later, I was at a restaurant and I saw this kid running around. He was so happy, laughing. And I just kept thinking, that can't be him. But that face is just, I mean, he wasn't an infant
Mhm.
toddler, but I was like, that face, I know that face. And then I heard this lady call him by the name I knew him by. So I was able to see that years later, he was happy. He was running around. I did introduce myself to the aunt and just let her know like how much it meant to me that years later I could see that he was thriving and he was doing well. And then professionally, we had a story from a lady several months ago that spoke to a group of us. Her kids had been removed, and she, for a very long time, was not getting the help and the resources that she needed. The children's foster mom invited her to church with her one weekend. She went, and just by building that relationship with the foster parents and then going to church with the children, she was given that encouragement to really change her life and get on the right path. She was able to bring her children home, and now she's actually turned it around and is mentoring women who are in the position that she was in. So it's come full circle, and she's able to encourage people that are in the position she was in and guide them along that path to a better life.
I love that you brought that up because I think sometimes that piece gets missed, that you're not only getting to know these children, you also oftentimes have to interact with their parents and have an opportunity to be a light in that situation. Or and I know that there are different stories and different situations and all of that, but there are those times where those stories are also really encouraging, that she was able to say, hey, let me help someone get on their feet so that they really can turn it around. What about if you know about the mental health part? How are resources offered to foster parents as far as dealing with their own stress? Because that is a huge change to have literal little strangers, and sometimes not so little strangers, coming into your home. What kind of mental health resources are available for the parents and then for those children as well, if you know?
So most of the children that are impacted by foster care are being seen by a therapist. Some are not. It's definitely something that I encourage, because everyone, no matter where you're from, you need someone to speak to, someone to
Yeah.
work with. And sometimes the places, whether it's a large place or a private practice, are able to bring families in for some family therapy, because that really does help with the bonding and working through issues.
Mhm.
And then actually the call has a therapist that is available for our foster families, just for the parents to be able to get a little bit
Good.
of themselves.
So if someone wanted to go through, you said our family, meaning do these parents come through you guys to say, hey, I want to foster, or do they go through DCFS and then they just connect them with the call? How does that work?
So they go through us. We work through the process with them, and then DCFS opens the home. But then we continue to wrap around and support those families through their entire
Mhm.
journey through foster care or adoption, and then post adoption as well.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Um, let's see. What is something that people who are interested in fostering need to know?
So I get asked this question all the time. And my answer is explore your options. Reach out to someone, ask questions. Don't just
Mhm.
back and, mull it over in your head. Really get involved. And if you're on the fence, then volunteering through an organization with foster care could really help you decide if it's for you. I personally believe once you volunteer and you see those little faces, you're going
Mhm.
to get more involved. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. But if it's been laid on your heart, then there's a reason for it. And it's something that you don't have to commit to for a lifelong, the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Commit a year, commit to 2 years, commit to, 5 or 6 cases that you can help those children. And then the amount of difference that you can make in a year is astronomical. Um, and just like the lady who invited the biological mom to church, she has impacted not only that family, but all of the family
Mhm.
mom is now serving. So
That's true.
just find a way to reach out, ask questions, get involved, and I can assure you, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Now, you shared with me a pretty amazing story before we started the interview. You talked about you've become kind of a celebrity in the last couple of days, right?
Oh,
Tell
not
us
so that way.
about your story. Why you have now gone viral, and because I think when you told me, I was like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing story. So I want you to tell people kind of your story as to kind of what happened, why you're a superstar, and how that can hopefully motivate and inspire other people.
So we just adopted a little boy out of foster care. He's 11 years old, and his home county was hours away from here. And when his adoption date was presented to him, the first thing he asked was, "Can my class watch? Can my class come?" So knowing that it was several hours away, we knew that his class wasn't going to be able to just load up a bus and come, but they were able to watch it on live stream, which was the coolest thing ever. has been in a place long enough now to make friends that he wanted to be a part of it. So
Mm.
our local news affiliate picked that story up and came and interviewed us about his class getting to watch. And during that interview, he mentioned to the reporter that in 4 years in foster care, he had been in 25 different placements. So once that story got out there, it was picked up by national news affiliates. It ended up going international. And then this morning we had a live interview with Dana Perino on Fox News. Um, since then, we've already gotten so many messages of encouragement. And his whole thing is I hope that another kid out there is encouraged and inspired by this. So for him, 25 placements in 4 years,
That's a lot.
that's a lot. It's not the norm. Moving around is the norm, but that is a lot more than is
Mm-hmm.
typical.
What things, I guess, mental health wise, like when you do see children in the system, what things are you seeing as a result of maybe moving around, or maybe just from them not being with their parents? What kind of mental health issues are you seeing arise, and how, from your perspective of now a mom of a child that was in the system, um, how do you help with that?
So I think the biggest thing is trauma. And I know in the past, we haven't understood trauma like we do now. It's
Hmm.
incredible that we do. Because in the past, it was just seen as behaviors. Now we understand where those behaviors are coming from, and we're able to really dig in and help those children. Um, the trauma may come out as several different diagnoses for a child,
Yeah.
but the root of that is trauma. The trauma of being removed, trauma that they experienced before they were removed, and then the trauma
Hmm.
of being around. What we have kind of seen with our son is for a long time, it was just he's putting up mental blocks. And every time you move, it's a different home, it's a different family,
Hmm.
expectations, maybe a different school, and different schools are at different paces. So it's a lot of confusion and a lot of change on a child very quickly. And that alone is another layer of trauma that is going to come out for our family. Certain behaviors may seem problematic that in another family don't seem
Hmm.
problematic. So, really digging into trauma is the number one thing that you can do for children that are in care, because it's going to peel back those layers and help you understand the behaviors and get through the behaviors and help you as a parent understand why your child, your foster child, adopted,
Hmm.
even our biological children that go through things. It really helps understand why they are doing what they are doing and how we can help them overcome some of that.
What are some of the trauma training that you received going through that process?
So, it's been years since we did our training. DCFS has recently changed to a different training model that is a little bit more trauma informed. But during we have to do continued education classes.
Right.
And one of the best ones that I've ever seen was on how the trauma affects the brain. Um,
Hmm.
Trauma even at birth. So, I have a daughter who was born 3 months early, and so it kind of broke down how even a difficult birth can
Hmm.
impact your brain and cause, you know, trauma and behaviors and things later on in life that we didn't understand years ago. So I love that we are now more trauma informed, and we are starting to understand the different ways that trauma impacts our brains and affects us later in life, because even a child that was removed at birth 20 years later may be going through some things that they don't understand because they don't remember being removed.
No, I absolutely appreciate DCFS for being more trauma informed. I appreciate you guys for the same reason, because that is so huge, so much. I've been learning more about myself, um, learning more about trauma and just how much it impacts. And people are so unaware oftentimes. Like you said, for years it was just considered, oh, behavior. Those kids are behavioral problems. And the reality is they were children who were trying to keep safe, whether that was emotional safety, physical safety. trying to protect their hearts from abandonment and neglect and hurt, and all of these things were preservation, and again, some of it was trauma responses. And so I'm so thankful that our system is becoming more aware, and hopefully will continue to be more aware and continue that training for the foster family. Tell me, for you, you were fostering, what made you decide that this is the child I'm going to adopt? How did your family come up with that decision?
So it's hard to put your finger on exactly what makes you connect with a child. So we actually saw his video on Project Zero, an organization here in Arkansas that really promotes adoption out of foster care. And so they do little photo shoots and videos so that you can really see all the children that are out there that are available, that are waiting to be adopted. And then the videos kind of give you a little bit of their personality and what they're interested in. And so we had gone to connection events, we had watched several videos, and something about him just really jumped out to us. And we just knew at that moment, like, this is the child that we were supposed to find all this time. So we began the process a little over a year ago. It was March of last year. We got to meet him for the first time in June. And a lot of people asked me after I met him at the connection event, because I was walking around and he was following me around and doing different things with me. And they said, well, how do you just jump in to parenting a child like that? Bond was just instant. We instantly just connected and started having fun together. So I knew in that moment, this is where we're supposed to be. This is the child that is supposed to come home to us.
Oh, I'm glad that worked out really well for both of you, you and the child.
Thank you very much.
If someone is interested in adoption, is foster care the best way to go about that? Or like, what are, I guess, paths to adoption?
So if adoption is your end goal, I would recommend opening as an adopt-only home, because for foster care, you really want reunification to, and you want to support reunification. So as a foster home, you don't want to be sitting there hoping that one.
Right.
So my family, for several reasons, opened as an adopt-only home. We knew when we decided that we wanted to adopt that it was going to be out of foster care, because there are so many children waiting to be adopted. So opening as an adopt-only home is definitely an option. And while I know that there are plenty of people out there that will go through private adoption for their own reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that, there are so many children from foster care waiting for a forever home, stability. And when reunification is no longer possible, those children are they're kind of in a place where they're not tethered to anyone. They know that they're not going back to their biological family, but at this point, they don't know what the future is going to hold for them either. So they're just kind of in Neverland, waiting to see what's going to happen. And if all of the children who are available for adoption were adopted out of foster care, that would drastically reduce the number of children in foster care and the number of homes needed.
So there are two different routes. And there's the just foster families who are not trying to adopt at all. They just want to foster and help that reunification process. And then there are the adopt only homes who, I guess, they get children who, if the rights have already been terminated, or if there's reunification is no longer the goal. Is that okay?
There is the option as a foster family, especially if it's a child that's been in your care, that can no longer reunify. So you do have the option as a foster parent to adopt. You just want to make sure that if you're opening as a foster home, that reunification is your ultimate goal, supporting it at all times, as long as it's safe and appropriate for the child.
Right. And what I think I'm hearing you say is you want to go in and make sure that you're not sabotaging anything, and that everybody's on the same page of let's reunify this family if we can, and try to get mom, dad, whoever, the support that they need, and help that child to have a safe place in that process.
Correct.
Okay. Makes total sense. Being in this line of work, I'm sure can be super rewarding, but also high stress, seeing, oh my gosh, this child had to hear, even your own child hearing that they had to be in so many homes, and seeing different things. How do you take care of your own mental health through this job, and now being adoptive mom?
So it is a little crazy sometimes because my work life and home life kind of intersect. So I have to be really strategic about how I separate that. Um, I am a planner 100%. I have a color coded calendar on my wall, and I from day to day who's supposed to be where. So planning is the number one goal, because at the end of the day, if I don't know what's going on the next day, I'm going to be running around in circles. I also have a really good support system in my husband, and I make sure every day to take a little time for myself, or
Mm-hmm.
I just start to feel like I'm over have too much going on at once. I will just walk away for a few minutes and regroup, um, because us moms don't like to admit it, but we're human too. So sometimes we need to just take a moment for ourselves. But as a mom, as a foster mom, adoptive mom, um, self care is the only way that you're going to survive anything. But especially in roles like this, whether it's DCFS
Mm-hmm.
or another organization like ours that works in foster care, you're going to see hard things. Um, you're going to see very rewarding things. And so a lot of times you just have to remind yourself of the good, even on a hard day.
Can you share about respite? You talked about some of the things that you guys do, and I know I used to work in an organization, and they had what they call therapeutic foster homes, and every now and then someone would give respite for the foster family just because there may have been behavioral issues, or maybe it was just that family had a lot going on, maybe deaths in the family or whatever. Can you share how people can help through respite as well?
Sure. So we actually were told not that long ago about a couple that they were older, they were not able to foster full time, but they just wanted to be grandparents. They just wanted to be able to help a family out for a weekend if that's what's needed. So sometimes respite is used, like you said, because there's something major going on in the family and they need a few days. Sometimes it's because they're going out of state for vacation and the child can't go. Sometimes it's because everyone in the house is sick and you want to get the kid out of there. And we know since
Mm-hmm.
a thing where you want to just protect your kids. So there are lots of ways that respite can be used. And it's a wonderful thing. Like I said, that older couple that just wants to be grandparents and jump in there and offer a weekend every once in a while. Um, and it's super important to foster families to have those respite homes close by in case it's needed. Because, like for our family, we have not had to use respite, but our family, our extended family, lives hours away. So
Mm-hmm.
had gotten in a situation like that, we would have had to use a respite home, because if it's last minute and our family can't drive, 2 hours to get to us in that moment, we would have needed a respite home to be able to step up for us.
Yeah. So, how I think you said you gave birth to a child as well.
Yes.
How did you introduce your biological child to their new sibling or potential sibling? I'm not sure when that meeting happened. How did that work out for you guys?
So I have a 14-year-old daughter and another 11-year-old little boy. So I have two 11-year-old boys. It's wild and crazy at our house right now.
Mhm.
So because they grew up in a family that adoption and a blended family was so normal, it was something that they were always on board with. In our family, foster, adoption, blended families, it's just the normal. It's just life. When I was growing up, there was no other lifestyle. I didn't understand that there were families that didn't have a life like this.
Mm.
So once me and dad had met him and he kind of found out that he was getting ready to be adopted and going to start doing some visits with his new family, we actually took the children to a water park last summer because we wanted them to be able to bond and have fun together. Because for parents, we want to talk to the kid, get to know the kid in a different way. But for children, they want to have fun together, see how they're going to play together. And they, within 30 seconds, had become best friends and completely forgot that his parents were even there. So
So that's really cool. So they were introduced kind of as a friend kind of way, and then
they knew that they all knew that
mhm.
they were there to meet because of adoption. They were all super excited about it. Everyone was a little nervous at first. Is he going to like everyone? Is everyone going to get along? But it was super quick. Their bond was almost instant.
Wow, that's really awesome. So, how do you handle those moments? And it may not happen. I don't know. Um, when he's wanting to talk about either some trauma or wanting to talk about the family that he was removed from? How do you guys handle that?
So we have been completely open and let him lead that. If it's something that he wants to talk about, we are open about it. He has the option to say, I just want to talk to this parent, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with brother and sister being in the room, or I really need to talk to you guys about something privately. And we just kind of let him lead those conversations. If it's something that he needs to get out, something he needs to talk about, we encourage him to get that out. And we never say anything negative about where he's been, about biological family. We make sure that he understands that none of this was his fault, that
Mm-hmm.
um, unfortunately, sometimes their parents are not able to parent their children, and that's how he ended up with us. And so being encouraging and just kind of letting those kids get that out, because if your foster child or adoptive child is wanting to talk to you about those things, that's a really good sign. And it means that they trust you and that they have bonded with you. It doesn't always happen that way, but once they've kind of opened that door, it's a good sign. And it means that they see you as someone that they can trust and talk to.
Again, a really great point about that trust. Are there things that you could recommend for someone who is actively fostering now or interested in fostering that would help them to create a bond and build trust? Because again, some of these children really have gone through traumatic um, situations, and it's really hard for them to trust. So, what are some tips, I guess, that you could share to help foster that trust?
So every child is different. You can have a sibling set of 3 children that come into your home, and all 3 of them have a different way that they need to be spoken to, that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So just taking it day by day and kind of letting the child lead. You don't want to push anything that they're not ready for. Work with their therapist, do some bonding activities, but understand that some kids will bond and trust easily, a lot will not, and it can take a long time. It can take months, it can take years before they truly break those walls down and start to trust you. But don't take it personally. Don't think for 1 second that it means you're not doing a good job, or that, you know, it's all about you. It's just because of where they've been, what they've gone through, and they may just struggle to trust anyone for a long time.
So I see someone in the comment section says, "Hey, I would love to adopt one day. This live is amazing." It's like Venetia Fuller. I think reach out and like Cassie was saying, start the process of maybe volunteering with organizations to learn more about it. I know that there are ways that you can help with DCFS as well through volunteering. And can you go back and share a couple of those ways of help volunteering, even if you're not ready to open your home? Can you review some of those, Cassie?
Absolutely. So I don't know where you are, but I know pretty much everywhere you look, there's an organization that is stepping up to support foster and adoptive families. So if you're not truly ready to start the process, see how you can get involved. It'll also help you learn quite a bit about the system and about the children, and it will start to create in you that open heart for the children and for doing that. But then if you are just ready to roll, then reach out to your local DCFS or one of the organizations in your area that assists in opening those homes and recruiting families, and just start asking questions. There are no stupid questions when it comes to this. There are so many things that you're going to want to ask and get answers to before you really commit to anything.
Yeah, that's great. I know, I think I was having someone and they were just saying, even during Christmas time, foster care is a great place to volunteer as far as like donations and those types of things. She said, I'm definitely going to do that and reach out. Thank you so much. Thank you, Venetia, for watching and being willing. Says, I'm with DCFS and I would love to answer questions and guide you in the right direction. So, Venetia, if you are able, you can reach out to Danielle in the comment section here. She said she would be happy to help guide you through that. And again, that's why I wanted to have this live, because I know that there are people who say, I want to help, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And we hear about problems. I wanted to talk about solutions today. And so, again, I appreciate you for coming. What would you say to the parent who does feel really kind of defeated as they're going through the process of the child's not connecting, or it does feel like that. You mentioned not to take it personally, but what are some other, I guess, ways that they could kind of take care of their mental health to help navigate through that process?
So, first of all, just don't give up. Understand that for these children, a lot of times they have seen people give up, whether biological family or other foster
Mm,
homes or other adults in their life. And so, for children, trusting adults comes from, building those bonds. And if they haven't had that, then they just don't understand how to trust. So, don't give up. Hang in there, because eventually they are going to see that you are doing what's right for them and that you are trying to do the best for them. But also take some time for yourself. Sorry, my dog is
it is okay.
hear voices, so he wants some attention. But like we talked about earlier, self-care, just even if you need to go to lunch with a friend and vent, find someone to talk to, because a lot of times as moms we keep it bottled up. We don't,
Hmm.
we're complaining because we are supposed to be able to handle it and we're doing this wonderful thing. Why would we complain about it? It's okay to let those things out, because bottling it up is just going to make it worse. And if you have someone, whether it's a therapist, a friend, a family member, who truly gets what you're going through and understands, they're not going to see you venting as a negative thing, and that, oh my goodness, I guess, they're not really right for this. They're going to understand that you just needed to get it out. At the end of the day, getting that out and feeling better is going to do so much more for the child, and you're going to be able to parent better and build that bond a little bit better, and just understand that everything you're feeling, everything you're thinking, that child is probably thinking it too.
So, Cassie, you mentioned something I think is really good about just having a space where you can say, I need to share these feelings. Is there, or does the call offer any type of group support, or, something like that, where people can just get together and go, okay, today was absolutely insane, or just whatever? What kind of resources are available in that way?
So every affiliate in Arkansas with the call is different, but we all do offer support groups, support nights. Sometimes it is to offer some extra training hours, but a lot of times it's just for the community, the foster care community, to come together, just be people for a little bit. I've seen ones that look like date nights for mom and dad, where childcare is offered. I've seen ones where they get to watch a movie or just get to fellowship with each other. Being in a room with people who are also walking the same walk as you.
Hmm. Okay, you went out just for seconds. Can you say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go. I was like, oh, wait, I didn't hear that last part. So
Um,
you're saying being in the same room with people that are able to walk with you just helps.
yes,
Yeah.
because, at the end of the day, most of your friends and family may not understand because they are an open foster home and they've never been impacted by foster care. So to be able to talk to someone that does completely understand where you are and has been where you are makes a huge difference.
Are you able to say, I've got, like, if you open your home and it's a set of three children, or four or whatever, can you say this is enough? I don't want to foster anymore while I have these, or
You can.
what's the, I
Um,
guess, freedom that you have in that situation?
so you absolutely do. So part of when you're doing your home study is to determine how much space you have in your home, what your preferences are, how many children you're willing to foster at one time, age, gender, all of that. So at any point, you can, when you get a call to foster, you can say, we just can't right now, or, our home is full. That's obviously something that does happen. But even if you have 4 beds available and you have one child and you're really working through some things with that child, you have the power to say no.
Okay. And I think that's important, for people to understand. Number one, it's not something that's just going to be against your will. But also, I think it's really important for people to see how big of a need that is. Think about, if you have a family of four, you're going to need houses in different sizes, and just all those types of things. So I really want to encourage you guys, if you are available or open, or at least just interested in learning, reach out to DCFS in your area, reach out to the call. If you're in the Cassie is with Pulaski County, but reach out to these different organizations that can give you more information, because again, there are so many ways that we can help, and we want to be a part of the solution, not just people that sit around and say, that sure is a shame, isn't it? We want to definitely be a part of that solution. As we wrap up, Cassie, what are some closing words you'd like to share with people who are watching?
So again, I just think, as hard as some of these things are, some of the things that we see as foster parents, some of the things we go through as foster parents, not just the children, but us, it's worth it at the end of the day. You may foster for a little bit and never see that child again, but know that you made an impact. Even if you just volunteer at an event or you take some meals to a family, you've made a huge impact. And at the end of the day, it can mean the difference between that foster family staying open and doing this a little bit longer, or I just don't have the support to be able to do that. It could also, be like we talked about, when someone's struggling, it could be the difference between a mom that is just like, I just don't know if I can do this anymore, and then really finding her strength and encouragement to keep going. I also just think that with the number of homes that we really need in our state, I would encourage everyone that even for a moment thought while we were talking, I think I want to do this. Just explore your options. You don't have to commit to anything immediately, but start asking questions, start seeing what your options are, and really working towards deciding if it's right for you or not.
No, I think that's great. You also mentioned something. I said that was the last thing, but you mentioned support. I'm assuming that there is some type of financial help that comes, and I'm not saying like people getting rich, but like there are financial just support that's available. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Or how accurate, I guess, is that? I know there's some kind of support.
You do get a monthly stipend, and children that are in DCFS custody are typically on state insurance. So that does help with their medical and mental health appointments. And there is a small stipend that comes with it. But of course, you want to, part of what you go through before you open your home is to make sure that you are financially prepared to care for these children. Because you don't want to go into it thinking that everything they could possibly need is going to be covered by that stipend, because it's
right.
not. So you do want to be financially prepared, but there is some assistance. And then, of course, when you have organizations that are able to help when maybe someone's been sick and hasn't been able to go to work for a week and you're really struggling, maybe your car is broken down, things like that. There are so many ways to help families, and there are so many resources out there to do that.
Okay. And I wanted to ask that question because I know that some people may be saying, I want to, but again, how do I pay for the doctor visits, or how do I do those things? Or they just may be thinking you have to have a certain amount to be able to do certain things. And so I want people to know it's not, you don't get into it because you're going to become wealthy, but there is support out there that helps you through that journey. So you're not alone in that process. So again, thank you so much. Guys, in the comments, do you have any questions for Cassie? Let us know if you have any questions. Go ahead and give some fire, give some hearts, give some shout outs to Cassie. She did an amazing job. Congrats on your adoption. Congrats on not necessarily going viral in that sense, but going viral in the sense of being able to bring so much awareness to what's happening in our world and the need. So thank you so much, Cassie. Thank you for the information, your willingness. Someone said you make sure you're set. You do this because you're called. Absolutely. And that's the name of the organization, The Call, which helps. So if you guys can go and like that page, share, comment, reach out to them if you're interested. Reach out to your local. There you go. It's like, where did Cassie go? Reach out to your local DCFS office and let us know. Before we end, I do want to make a couple of announcements. If you are in South Arkansas, don't forget that on June 1st, I will be a part of a group, and we are called the Empower Well Collaborative, and we are hosting a health and wellness basically summit, and we're going to be talking about mental health, financial health, and physical health. So if you are in Bearden, Arkansas on June 1st, we want you to come. Let's let me see where, let's see, I'm going to post this. Here we go. The Health and Wellness Summit, June 1st, here in Arkansas at the F.O. Jones Auditorium campus from 10 to 3. We're going to have Zumba out there to get our bodies moving. I will be doing a segment about mental health. We're going to have a pharmacist to be talking about how you interact with your doctor effectively. We have a nurse to answer a question. We're going to have health screens with the Minority Health Initiative. So again, if you are in South Arkansas, just let us know. If you have any questions, we're excited to have everybody here. We're so okay. Cassie, can you hear me now? Nope. Okay. Cassie can't hear me. I'm just giving announcements though. So let me just let her know. All righty. So so if you are in town, also, if you're struggling with some anxiety, you guys know I am introducing more health awareness products. So I have Courageous Coloring, which is on Amazon. Go and order that book on Amazon, Courageous Coloring. It's a coloring book to help with anxiety. It's positive affirmations. And if you are looking for a therapist, you can reach out to me at tenitria@gmail.com. tenitria@gmail.com. Reach out if I know you personally, I can help you find someone else. Or if you want to reach out via phone, it's 470-410-9790. Again, that's 470-410-9790. So again, thank you guys. Those are my announcements. I appreciate you guys for coming. Everybody say thanks to Cassie. Thank you, Cassie. I don't know if you can hear me again. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you guys next week. Next week, we're going to have the Empower World Collaborative women on here with me. And we're going to talk about the event that's coming up in June. We're going to talk about ways to take care of ourselves and be our best selves mentally and physically. So again, thank you, Cassie. If you're interested, make sure you reach out to the call. Make sure you reach out to your local DCFS workers so that we can get the support and help that we can. Thank you. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.